Good evening. Nice to see you again. And I was confused. I thought today is Wednesday, but it's Thursday. So it's good. We have 2 more nights to get to the finish line of this, how can I call it? Marathon, yeah. It's, you see, it takes time to understand certain things. If we just could understand things immediately, it would be very nice. But it takes time. So I hope you remember our problem. I just bring it up again and again that we think we are someone that we are not. That's why we try that which is impossible. We would never try what is impossible if we would not think we could do it. Reason would forbid us. But we have unreason in us. We think we are gods, and that's why the information we read, we hear, we measure with what we think is correct. We have a scale that is pure subjective evaluation. That's why we can never come to a unity and the right conclusion of the things. We must change that. We must know that we are a creature, and then we have a law outside of us to interpret the information and become free. 4 things, I hope you learn them. Maybe next time you ask these questions. What are the 4 things that are unchangeable on what we built or the lectures are built? The first is the law of nature that no one can change. The second is the structure. The third is the function. And the 4th is the basic needs. All these 4 things are unchangeable. We just need to know them. And if we know them, we can calculate anything, any problem. We can see where it comes from. So I'm very glad that we have something that is very objective. None of this is a subjective thing. Yes, it's all objective, the law, the structure, the function, and the needs. They're indisputable. They have there. And I hope you learn that there is a hierarchy of our needs. What is our first need? Love, okay? Yes. And we will see the circle tomorrow night, I hope, of our needs, but love is the first need. So that's why, what is first in our life? Relationships, okay? Because love, you can take from a well to drink. Can you go to a well to drink love? No. Can you go to a tree to take love? No. It must be a person. It must be a relationship between 2 persons, at least, that you experience love. So that's why all our problems that we have, without exceptions, come from our relationships. Yes? If our relationships would be correct, disease would be banished because love would be the center in our life. But we think others need to fulfill our needs, and so we are in a terrible situation because our heart betrays us and says, you give to receive. And we saw this, I hope all know, and tonight we will emphasize it very, very clear. No one can give anything that he did not take first. Okay? No one can give anything that he did not take first. That's why we don't know the law, and we don't know that we take from where there is none. That's unknown to us, but disease makes it known. You see, disease shows who is your source of love. Where do you feed? Is that feed yourself? Yes? Where do you take it? So humans live in a terrible self-deception, thinking they can give something from themselves while they can never do that. So we will look tonight about the law of life from our heart's perspective. So at the bottom line of all things, so also our heart functions, and it has only two functions, that is, the taking and the giving. And everything functions, it must take in order to give. And this is our spirit. Whenever the spirit gives something, it goes into the body. So the giving becomes visible in the physical, while the taking remains invisible. But when you see and when you know that what you give, you must take in before, then you also can see on the body from where you take. That's how I discovered the diseases of children. Yes? I saw the child's body sick, and I knew why he was sick. And I might tell another story as an introduction here. As a little girl, she was 3 years old. It's a very simple story. She had a cough for 1 year. And the parents went to different doctors to figure out where the cough come. And after 1 year, they ended up with me as an ENT to see if something is there in the larynx area, in the throat, that makes the cough. Now, can there be anything that makes the cough if you cough 1 year? Of course, there can be nothing. So I examined the child, but I did not see anything wrong. But the child was now and then coughing. And so now that you see the symptom in the body, of course, you can get a cough because something is making your nerve, irritating your nerve in the throat. Yeah, you can put your finger, you can drink something or whatever, and it can irritate your nerve, and then you cough. But now if you cough for a year, then there's nothing that irritates your nerve in the throat that you might cough. So the irritation must be where? It must in the brain, because the spirit must make that irritation. And so I knew the child makes the cough to itself. By choice or no choice? Okay, you learned a lesson, I hope. What we deal here about is no choice. So what shall I do? How would you proceed? You must talk to the parents to see what's the situation. Because if the parents solve the situation, the child stops coughing. And so I asked them what happened. And the mother told me how she is crying, and she wept while she said that since 1 year they moved in another flat, and she doesn't like the place. And she would like to go away from there, but you know how good husbands are. When they once move, they don't move the second time. Yes? It's cheap, it's working. What's about? But we husbands have not understood that women are special beings. They have special little needs, and they need a place where they have to feel good, like a nest, yeah? Me, I can sleep every day in another bed, doesn't matter. But a woman is not so made. Maybe not all, but they want to have a nest where they feel well, where they have to put all those things. And she is in a need. With whom does she fight? With the husband. Because what does she think about the husband? He does not love me because he does not want to move, or at least tell me in 3 years or whatever. And so what does the child pick up from mom? What does the child want to do? Why does the child cough? It wants to go and fix the relationships, wants to make mom happy. Have you ever observed how children react when their mother weep or cry? I was once in a consultation with a mother in a room, and I sent the boy out, and the room had a big window. And when I talked to his mom, and the mother started crying, usually when I speak to people, they cry. I don't know why. But because you have to go to the place where something is hurting. I have no choice. And so in a moment the mother weeps or cries, the child turns around to see what mother does, even though he's a few meters away and doesn't see mom. He was with his back to his mom. You see, children know their mom's wishes. They know their mom's desire, and they would fulfill it. Are they not sweet? And so, what they want is good. But what do they wrong that they get a cough? What is it that makes the physical damage on the body? Now, what is it in the spirit that makes the damage? Because you see, the intention of the child is good. What does it? What is that one element that provokes disease in our brain and then goes down to us? What is it? Pardon? Well, loss is just the thing behind it. Well, the error, but through which, what is the deepest error or the worst thing that is there that only comes out through disease? If not, we would not see that it is wrong. Now you're not with me yet, but that's why I put the questions so that we can learn it and see how we can fix it. So we must know that element that this child puts into her brain that then makes the cough, or it could do anything else in her body. Well, it's helpless, that's correct. But what is the active process that destroys the brain? And I give you a hint. It must be the opposite of love. What is that element that we would say is not love, even though the child wants the good? Don't answer, just let us think about it. Okay? So let us look first to the law a little bit. We look to love, and let's see if we find it out. Okay? So, if we have only two actions in the heart, then, and we need love, yes, then how shall we do it in our conscience? We must have love relationships. And how many kinds of love relationship are there? Let's say it differently. How many actions are there in eating? In eating, how many actions are? 2. It's taking, yes. Chewing, yes. And swallowing. That's taking and giving. So eating, breathing, drinking implies 2 actions. The taking from outside and the giving further. Now, how many actions are in love? What is love? Giving or taking? Now the error makes it unilateral. We will see. All of us understand love as taking or as giving. What is love? Giving, yes? We all know, without needing to go to school or someone should show me, love is when you give, okay? Love is when you give. But what we don't know is that love is also taking, because you cannot give anything from yourself. And this we don't know, so there is only two kinds of love relationships that exists. You love someone in order to take, and you love someone in order to give. There is no more than that. Now let me ask you, how many love relations do you need at least to be satisfied? Now, when you say one, you are in true or in deception? You see, we must understand, and this is what we didn't understand in the law, why we don't know the law of nature. This is the basic law of nature. In nature, everything where you take, you cannot give. And when you give, you cannot take. So how many relations do you need at least to be fulfilled? Two. But in deception, you need only one, because you give to receive. We will see that later. So, to be fulfilling the law, you need at least two kinds of relationships, and they must be pure. Pure to take and pure to give. Because you cannot give where you take, and you cannot take where you give. Are you with me? Shall I give an example? A tree takes its power from where? Soil, air, sun, yes? How much can the tree give to the sun, to the water? Nothing. It just takes. And now it makes a fruit. To whom does it give the fruit? To other creatures. If not, the circle of the ecosystem would not function. There is no way in a circle that you have two ways. You have only one way, take to give, take to give, take to give, take to give. Yeah? If not, it doesn't work. This is so important to understand that everything is a circle, and wherever the circle starts, there the circle also ends. With all the supplies. So it's very simple to see where all the functions start, they must end. Where you turn your car on, you must turn her off. So do you know where all waters come from? The water. Where does the water supply come from? Where do the water come from? Now, it's easy when you don't know the beginning to see the end, because where the end is also the beginning. So where do all waters go? Okay. So then the waters come from the sea. Yes? That's the circle. Where it starts, it gets back. You know why? Because God made that everything should function in a circle. Because He is a circle. Everything starts with Him, and everything ends with Him. So, that's very simple. That's why everything functions in circles. And so when we understand that, we know that also the human starts from a point, and that is always coming back to the same point. Yes, there are thousands and billions of circles that open up and come back, yes, but there is a big circle where all starts and all come back. And I will show that tomorrow night. But tonight it is important to understand there is no circle in giving in order to receive. Yes, that's a dead end. So if I take the food, I give it to my stomach forward it down to the bacteria take it and give something else out, and so on. If someone here would stop giving, nothing would function. Nothing would function. Imagine our hearts, our physical hearts, would keep something of the blood for themselves. Now they, yeah? So they take all and give all. And it goes around in a circle. So remember, a circle can only function if everyone in the circle does the same thing. Takes in order to give. Takes in order to give. Takes in order to give. And it will never change. That's how God made it. It starts with Him, and the great circle ends with Him. Yeah? So it gives us a clear, a big understanding of how the universe and all work. And we have in us what a great universe, and we will know it all starts with taking to give. And the brain takes it and gives it further to the organs take it and give it further. Nothing functions differently. Everywhere there is an input, there must be an output. That's as simple as it can be. So that's why we must know that we can see in the body from where we take from. Now, the spirit only can take through trust. But trust is dependency. But where he gives, he is independent. He does not need to trust. So the tree is dependent to bring the fruit of the sun. But he doesn't give to the sun anything back. He gives it to the birds or us. Yes? And they take it and transform it. And then in the end it comes back as soil or whatever to him. So it goes through different steps, but every time where you give, you are free. And every time where you take, you're bound. Yes, that's a fixed attachment. This is flexible. To how many can a tree give its fruits? Infinite. How many fruits he has. So, to how many can we give the love? To how many? To all around us. Yeah? Doesn't matter. We can take the love and give it and spread it around. It won't harm us because we took it first. And what we give to others as love supplies our body with power because we must do it with the body. Yeah, this is the action between the spirit and the body. When the spirit gives love, when he acts out of love, then everything works fine. So now we want to see where is the deception where we fall into that brings us into difficulties. That's why we need to define love. Yes? And I defined love according to what our body takes as right. And what I think or applies to my spirit and reason must be love. So I must have two things. Once, with my spirit, I must acknowledge that is love. And second, proving it by giving it, it must give the body power. Yes, so we have two proofs. One is subjective, but we will see we all have it the same. So there must be something there that says that is love. And the body proves it it's right. And if we would exercise that kind of love, we will never put any wrong input in our body. We would never have any headaches, except we were hurt or whatever. We would never have, I don't know, whatever disease we have, autoimmune disease, and so on. So let's give us a definition of love, so that we can see what hurts the body and what hurts it not. And I find only one thing that hurts the body, and when the Spirit exercises it. So love is infinite, yes, and it has at least two dimensions which are at the same time present. It might be more, but if we would exercise this two, it would be very good. So the first dimension of love is maximum interest for the other person. Would you agree that that is love, to have maximum interest for the other person? Yes. Now, human love, can human love do that? Can you have maximum interest for the other person? Now, maximum interest you can have, and you have maximum interest, but not for the other person, but in the other person. Yes? Because you have maximum interest, not for, but in the other person. And how can we prove that? In the moment you need to rule, dominate, or forcing the good on him. Yes? So then, when I have an interest in a person, have you ever seen jealous people? Have they maximum interest or not? Have they maximum interest? Yes, there is maximum interest. Their life hangs on the other ones. But for whose sake do they keep them? Because they have interest in the other person. So actually they have interest in themselves. They love to eat. Yes, they love to take from them. So this is maximum interest for the other. Human love only can have maximum in the other. So you live in a relationship or from a relationship. Is that a difference? Yes? So how do? You live from the relationship or in the relationship? Now I can tell you, you live from the relationship. That's why we get so messed up in our lives. So, maximum interest for the other. And what is the other dimension of love? What would you think? I found it that the other dimension of love is maximum in liberty or freedom for the other person. 100% respect for the other person. No force for the good. When human love loses interest in the other person, what does it do? It gives not liberty, but it tries to become indifference. Now, indifference won't make you sick, but indifference is not love. And some people sometimes, when they listen at the beginning of my presentations, they think I speak about indifference. They speak, you just need not to be touched by what others are doing. Oh, yes. We can be as sensitive as possible, but it's not about us. Yes, it's not about insensitivity. It's just that it should not be for you. So, what makes a person sick? Would you agree that this is love? You like that kind of, would you like to have a person to live with that? Because usually we don't say, I would like to be that person, but we would like to have such person around us. Yes? Would you like to have a person that is able to die for you, but at the same time respects you totally and gives you total liberty? Would you like that? That's heaven, isn't it? Exactly, that is love, and we all love it. I would love to have a person like that. Imagine your relationship with your spouse. No control. Yes? Would that be nice? No suspicion. Oh, yeah? Just having a good time together. Giving maximum interest and 100% liberty. So what makes us sick? What is our incapacity no matter what we do? You see, I have to prove to my non-Christian or atheist, whoever, patients, that they cannot produce love. How can I prove that you cannot produce love? By showing that love is not something you can produce, but you must use. Yeah? You use oxygen, can you produce it? Yes or not? So love must be a product that you cannot produce, because if you can produce it, it's not love. It's not something that is what you need to take in order to give. So what makes the child cough? Which incapacity? Has the child maximum interest in her mother? Yes. So what capacity the child has not? The child cannot give freedom cannot give liberty to her mom. The child must force her mom to do the good. And that makes her brain sick. And that makes her cough, that makes her pee in bed, or whatever happens. It's always the same thing. Every issue that we have come because of the incapacity to give 100% liberty. Why cannot the child give that love? Yes, because it has none of it. Yes, if the child would have it, it would give it. But the child takes from mom, and it has in itself a nature that needs to force mom to the good. And you know what is the worst evil that exists? The worst evil that exists is when you want to force on others the good. That's the worst of evil. Come back tomorrow night, and let us discuss about it, if you can see it the same. The worst of all evil is not that you want to do evil. The worst of all evil is when you by all means want to do the good and enforce it on others. That's from the devil. That's never from God. Because it's the opposite of love. The opposite of love is forcing others to do your will. There's no such thing in love. Now there's another motive why the child cannot do it. Because of course it has it not. The child is what towards mom? Dependent. So you can never give 100% liberty or your life to the one you are dependent of. How could you do that? So what's the condition to be able to produce this love? You must be independent. That's why God must exist, because He is independent. And because He's independent, He has the ability to give His life. Did He prove it? Yes or no? Yes. And at the same time, is He forcing you to do something good? You will never see force in a person that has love that is divine. There will be never a violence, never an accusation, never a pressing thing in a person that loves. You know why? Because, yes, God is independent and He can produce His love, but if you take that from God, what will come out of you? The same thing. So by what comes out of you, your body measures if it is according to that what He was made to function with. You see, we have an objective measurement in our brain, in our body. If we can love with a love that never uses force, that never compels, that lets things happen even if they are wrong. So, let's continue to see what's wrong in us. Our incapacity to give liberty shows that we are dependent on the person we love. Okay? I repeat it again. The incapacity to let go of the person we love shows that we are dependent on them. And then when we are dependent on them, which kind of relationship do we have with them? This one or this one? What kind of relationship? We take from them. Is it love? Yes, it is love. But it's love to take. And I have to love someone to take from him. But I also have to love someone to give further on. And these two actions, we don't know that they are in love. Because our nature, our error says, you give love from you. And now someone else is in need to give it to you back. And this makes all the issues that we have in life. Every issue that you can calculate in a human's life comes from giving in order to receive. And I tell you a story. I always tell this story because it's a colleague of mine, and she was for 11 years married, and her husband left her with a little child, and she got deep depression when he left her. The people around her were afraid that she would die from her depression, and I had a seminar close there somewhere, and so she came for counseling, and I explained to her what's wrong. And she explained, she understood it, and she put it into action, and her depression went away. But 3 months later, she calls me and says, I cannot stop weeping anymore. What happened? She said, I met today my husband in the shop with his new girlfriend. And while he was passing me, he tells to his girlfriend, this is my ex-wife. And she hears it. And the moment she hears it, she starts crying and cannot stop anymore. Why? Now we know it must be the deception that takes away your incapacity to control yourself. And if you know once that all problems come from here, then you just go to the place to see what's going on. So I asked her, because you see, through questions, I always try to get people to understand what's going on in themselves. So I asked her, when you were together with your husband, how much did you give him? How much does a woman give to a man when she loves him? Pardon? Well, you know, I spoke with more women than men. I know today more women, I know today more like a woman thinks than a man thinks. Because in my work, you see, men never go to the doctor. Counselor, they don't need, because they are counselors themselves. You see, most men come and say, my wife sent me to check my ears. You know? So she should sent you earlier. Because it's not about the hearing. But they only come when they are pushed to go to the doctor. Yeah? So most patients are female to whom I talk. And when I want to explain to them, they are curious and they want to know what's going on. Men. So I know how women think more and more because I speak mostly with them. And so when a woman loves, she gives how much? All. A man, I don't think men are like that because I think I have maybe some things put aside. But when a woman loves, she gives all. Yeah, she gives her work, she wants to help, she cooks, she gives her body, everything is just for the man. How does she feel when she gives all? Very good. Whenever you give all, your body gives back with an emotion that is perfect. Yes? Feeling good. So she said, I felt good when I gave all. Now the problem is not in the giving, but in the taking. So I put the next question, and this is the decisive question. I said to her, how much did you give him from yourself? You give all, but how much of that all comes from you? And she answered correctly. She said, none. And then I said, then you can stop weeping. And in that moment, she stopped. Why did she weep? Why did she weep? Because she thought, I invested all my love in this man, that now he spends it with this woman. She thinks that all that she gave was gone. And it was from whom? Can you ever lose 11 years in a marriage? Some people think. Yeah? So, did she lose anything that her husband left her? Did she or did she not? No, because her husband was just the recipient of her love. Not the source of it. But what was he in reality? The source of it. The source of it. Because she was taking from whom? From him. Yes? And here she could not control him. And why she could not control him? She had to weep because she lost 11 years of giving. And she thought she gave from herself. You see, if you would always knew that all that you give, you don't give from yourself, how would it be? Would it be nice or not? I tell you a story from an ENT doctor from Romania. He told me that story, and I put it into my lectures because it gives us an idea of how we really think. He had a patient one day, and that patient, after he treated him, he asked the patient, what is he doing for profession? And the patient said, he's a thief of profession. Now, there are professionals always, in all matters, and all kinds of things. And the doctor, when he heard that he's a thief of profession, said, just recently something was stolen of me, and I still felt the pain that something was taken away. And so he wanted to make the thief more sympathetic with the victim. And so he asked him a question and said, did it happen to you that anyone stole anything from you? And if yes, then did you feel the pain? when it was stolen. And then the thief says, oh yes, I've been stolen a lot of things, but pain I didn't feel. Why? Because all that I have is stolen. You see, he knows if he needs something, he goes and takes. He doesn't wait for someone to bring it to him. And so if someone takes it away, he goes back and takes it again. Because he knows how it works. So if everything that we have and what we give would never come from us, we would be free agents. And that's the truth. That's the truth. And the truth will make us free. You can never give anything what you not have taken. That's why in our bodies, what we take from, it will show up. And all our relationships, according to the law of death, to the idea that we are gods, are just for taking. There is none relationship that you just have for giving. Every intercourse that you have with humans is one-sided for your own interests. Do you realize why we are not happy? Why we are so focused on others? We don't have free relationships where we just share and give without any stopping. We just have relationships where we take from. That's why humans, animals, mother, father, spouse are our destiny. You can go with closed eyes. When a person comes to you and tells he has migraine, he has an autoimmune disease, he has this or he has that, you know it's from taking from the wrong source. And not being able to control that source, you must exercise force, and that force kills you. Exactly that happens. That's the process. So you must take from your child. Your child is killed. Yes? And if your child is killed, you can never forget that, or not that you need not to forget it, but you must make that child alive again. Because your life is dependent on that. And so you cannot let go. Because that child is your life. Because it becomes a possession that is for you, and you must keep it. You remember the professor from last night whose child was caught by the machine? Yes, when he got sick after his child died, 6 years later he lost his manhood, and then he got in trouble with whom? With his wife. That's why his left ear started to have problems for 5 years. So you always can see on the body what the person is going through. Just recently I had a woman, she's 65 years old, and she said, oh, she's okay, but she had a lot of issues in her body. Yes? And I said, there is no possibility that you're okay. There must be something that bothers you. And then she says, oh, I have something. My husband lost his manhood 10 years ago. He became impotent. Is that the right word? Yeah. So now she has a problem. So you see, humans don't know how to deal with the difficult issues that arise. They are in prison, and they would force things to change. But why is this woman sick? What is she thinking? What would she do? She would make her husband healthy. Well, yes. For whom? Yeah? That's all our burdens are coming because we want something for ourselves. I never saw a relationship that is free on earth. We just have absolute dependency relationships. Isn't that a pity? So we all love just for the case to take. So, and it's legitimate, we must take from somewhere, but it's automatically the wrong source. So, I was grown up as a Christian, and I never understood the 10 Commandments until a few years ago when I understood the law. So, let's see, where can you break the law? In the taking or in the giving? Can you break it in more places or just in one? I don't hear well. Let's see. More places or one place? I heard one and more, so let's make a... So who is for one? Who is for more? Okay, it's always 1-to-1. So let's look to the law. I put this question so that we understand. We must understand the principle of the law. If everything you take you cannot keep, then where can you only break the law? When everything that you take you cannot keep, where only can you break the law? In giving or in taking? Now you see, it's only two things and we are so... No. We are never able to not give. The law does not permit you to not give. You must, what you take, you must give automatically. There is no stopping. And I can tell you a story so that you see it on my own. When in my practice, I was taught by God how I take from my patients. One day, I don't know how many years ago, but not so many years, I was doing my job at my practice, and whenever I opened the door to the room where I took them in, there was a bad smell. And I'm very sensitive to bad smell. So I said, what's smelling here so bad? But I took one patient after the other, and then the one came. I shake hands with him, and while he was passing me, entering the room, I said, this is it. This is the man. So obviously, in the moment when I smelled it, I said to me, I have to finish fast or slow? Fast, because bad smell is no need. Only good smell is a need, yes? So, and at an ENT, he had an ear infection, left ear infection, and when you go with the microscope, your nose is exactly here. Yeah, no choice to, you turn around. So, I don't know what kind of a smell it was. It was not a good smell. However, I tried to get away to get that serum and block from his ear, but whenever I was ready to take it out, he jumped away. And then fix the microscope again, try again, and when you think, now, and now imagine, he's staying not still, he is not smelling well, you want to finish. Are you under pressure? Yes, why? Because you take from where? You take from him. So after about 10 minutes, I lost my temper. I never lost my temper before in my practice, I don't know, for 9-10 years. But And I didn't shout to the patient. I just put the microscope aside and said, look, we must fix your ear. And I said, you have to stay still. And he said, but it hurts. And I said, it doesn't matter. You're 55 years old. Stay still. Put your head here on this chair so that I get the thing out. And so he stood still the second time, and then finally I took out, and he had a hole in his drum because it was a chronic infection, and I asked him next time to come earlier, not wait so long. But when he was at the door, I wanted to say, and don't go into the stall before you come. Because it was like a stall smell. I don't know what was, urine or whatever it was. But I thought it's the stall, so I said, don't go into the stall before you come to the doctor. But I didn't say it, thanks God. But then the patient left. And I asked myself, and I went to God and said, why did I lose my temper? You know why? Why? Was it the smell? What was it? You always must give further that what you take. The patient was uncontrolled. What did I become? Uncontrolled. You always become like the source you take from, because you must give it further. You cannot keep it. So where is the only possibility to break the law? If all that you take, you must give. Are you getting it? The only place where you can ever break the law is in taking. Because if you take the right things comes out by no choice. The giving is included in the taking. So when you take your food, can you make a mistake to swallow it? I mean, you take it in, yes? So that's included. So the only place to break the law is in one place. We are just vulnerable in one single place to do anything wrong, and that is to trust the wrong source of love. There is only one way to break the law, and we call the breaking the law what? Sin. Yes? So how many sins are there in the world? Only one. All others are just effects of it. So now understanding the law, that you can break the law only in one place. Why did God write the law and gave us 10 commandments, not only one, or maximum 2? What was his intention? What did he want to bring out in these 10 commandments? So, for what purpose did he give the law? No. To make clear where we break it. Because can you keep it? No, when you have only one-sided relationships, you certainly break the law. Because there's no passing on, yes, of that what should be passed on, because everything you pass on is just what is not good, what is not love. So, he wanted to emphasize one thing in the law, that we should get aware where we take from. And that 8 laws or 8 commandments he wrote just for the purpose to make us clear when we do those things, we take not from him. So, on the effect, you can see the cause. Are you with me? On the effect, you can see the cause. Here, you can know that you don't take from the right source, because you can measure the outcome even though the input is not visible, because that you do in your spirit. But what you do outside comes through, and everyone can see from whom you live. So that here should come out love. There is only one kind of love, yes, maximum interest, yes, and that is divine, that is superhuman. You must take from him. But now, through the error, you are incapable to take from him. So he gave you the law to show you your incapacity to take from him. Are you with me? That's the purpose of the law. To show you that you are not keeping it. So that's why he wrote, the first 3 commandments are commandments, no other gods, no images, no other name in vain. Is if you do those things, where do you break the law? Why do you have another God? To take or to give? Why do you bow for images? To take or to give? Why do you take this God's name in vain? To take or to give? It's always the wrong thing. So, from here, do not take. Didn't? So from here, do not take. So let's go to the other side. Not kill. Where do you break the law when you kill? You break it here. Yes? If you take from God, would you kill? No. Would you get nervous when the patient smells bad? Yes or no? No. You would just love, we will see, can endure how much? Everything. Even a bad smell. Not for all, but I hope Andrea can bear the bad smell. So, not kill. When a person kills, and Jesus says, if you get nervous, if you get angry to your brother, you have already killed him. Yeah? Because that means you force him the good that you want from him. When you commit adultery, where do you break the law? Take from whom? Yes. You don't take from God, you take from a woman. And here I explain to you my story. And this is my law that brought me into difficulty. Because I married when I was 18. You know why? Did I want to give or to take? Take. Was I aware of it? No. I just wanted someone to make me happy. And I thought only a woman can make me happy. Yes? So I took a woman to please and to satisfy my needs. But was I disappointed? Yes. Because you know I had only 3 modest needs. Yes? I considered myself very modest in the way I am. A little bit of understanding, a little bit of listening, and a little bit of smiling. What's wrong? What's wrong? All good things, is it? All good things, just for me. So when I come home, she smiles. It's perfumed and all is nice. Yes? Everything is set aside in the house. You just enjoy. Isn't that a nice life? Didn't I dream well? I dreamed well. But my wife is the opposite of that. So she is not the quiet woman that I would like to have. Just doing things, slowly. She is in the 5th gear or 6th. Yes, she's fast. And I'm a few steps behind her. Yeah, she never does things, just always in a running. And imagine you are in need of harmony. you like a nice pace, and you have someone that does everything in the last minute. And then, so often, when she's in a hurry, then she puts me to help her in those very humiliating things. You know, she never likes to take the trash out. Yeah? She peels all the things into the sinker. Yes? And I said, put a put a bag there and put in the bag. You take the bag and throw it away. No, she doesn't put the bag. She puts it all because she knows she has some hands that put that thing in that, to put in a bag. So I got married, and my wife was not what I dreamed. But I was a Christian. And as a Christian, when you got once married, always married. So I said, that's it. I have to stick to my destiny. So I stick to it for 20 years. But in 20 years, I got drought, how you call it, you know? You were so thirsty for love, I almost died. My wife always loved me the way she loves. And I said, you don't love me like I want to, you know? I want liberty. She is jealous. I want just to take short pants. She says long pants. So you must follow. Yeah. I wanted to become a preacher, a theologian. She made me a doctor because I had no choice. So that's why today a doctor. I never dreamed to be a doctor, but I am convinced today that it was in God's providence. So she helped me to become a doctor. And after 20 years, even though we have the last 5 years, 66 foster children, I was so empty, I said, I need to find a woman that satisfies my needs. And I quit my job, and I wanted to fix the family in that year, 2003, but I saw very fast that I can't change my wife. And so I said, okay, then I have to change her. I have to take another one. So I planned the separation on the 26th of July, 2003. Then the school year was over, and we had to give those children who were still under 18 back to their mom, and I would leave to go to live with my mom, and she with her mom, and then everyone would start his life again. I was 39 years old then, and I made this plan with the Lord. I said, Lord, I know this law stays in the way. But I said, you forgave others, and I just make a detour. Because I never wanted to be without God. I always, from childhood, I wanted to be His servant. I wanted to work for Him only. I didn't think ever to work for a human. But I said, I need to become happy. And so I go, I find the right woman, and I come back. And then everything will be fine. A good plan? Well, I think God had smiled on me, probably, when He saw my plan, because He knew the error of my heart. Did He knew it? Did I know it? No. I had no idea how blind I was, how wrong I was, thinking I am so right. So on the 1st June 2003, we had a counseling situation in a family, even though at that time I already took the decision, I quit the house, everything was set for the separation. But we were at a family's place in America, and they asked us for counseling, and I said, okay. And 3 hours there, I just said, no, I have to become happy. And after these 3 hours that they worked on me, my wife never wanted to let me go. So she never had the issue to separate from me. You know, women, sometimes they then cannot let go, even though you don't taste well, they still keep you. And so she wanted to keep me, even though I wanted to run away. And after this conversation, where I was very clear I won't change, a thought came to me. And that thought was, if you are going to keep my commandments, I will take care of your needs. And I said, but that's nice. I felt very good when I perceived that idea, my needs can be fulfilled. But I said, I was faithful. I mean, I didn't sleep with another woman all those 20 years, even though I had a lot of addictions. I was addicted to pornography, I was addicted to abuse, all that kind of thing. I was addicted to movies, to sports and all this, to satisfy my need, yes. I couldn't get rid of them, but I didn't commit adultery in the physical way, just in the imaginary way, yeah? So some people think then they are still okay. And so I said, well, I kept the commandment and I didn't become happy. So how shall I now, when I keep the commandment, become happy? So I was confused. But God gave me 1 week of thoughts. And at the end of the week, we were sitting together again with the family to say goodbye. We had also our 3 children there, 14, 16, and 18 years old. And the gentleman was sitting on my right. And suddenly he asks me and says, are you committed? And when he said, are you committed? I thought that he asked me, are you committed to go? But he said, are you committed to stay with your family? And back then I knew what people would ask me before they said the whole question, and I said loud, yes, because I thought he asked me, are you committed to go? But he asked me, are you committed to stay with your family? And my strong yes came exactly at the end of his sentence. Boom. Imagine the faces of the children. I saw them, because just when we entered before, they knew his mind is set. He's not committed to stay, but committed to go. And here, he strongly says he's committed to stay with his family. And when I realized what I said, I was in a trap. But I will thank always the God for this trap, because he used my incapacity and my not so brightness to help me to be saved. So now I had to immediately say, no. I wanted to say something else. I don't know what it made in my inner life, in my inner heart, what made me to not take the yes back, but to jump after it. But in the moment I jumped after that yes, everything in my life changed in one split of a second. I became a peace in my heart. The whole hunger to be loved was gone. And I had feelings, you cannot explain those emotions that you have when you're thirsty. And all those things were gone in a moment. I got a peace that never left me since then. And all my addictions, you see, when you are in pornography, you cannot think well, you are just bound into that. And I prayed to God, he should free me. Why did he not free me? Sometimes I had to have the sermon in this church on Sabbath because I was a half minister, and I knew what I did last week, and I thought God will kill me at the podium. Did I have a right impression upon God or not? No, I had no idea that I was a prisoner. And in spite that I wept because I thought I can overcome. Could I? No. So what is pornography? What are addictions? A choice or no choice? No choice. Because they show up where you are taking from. Wherever you take from, that comes out. And addictions are nothing else than dependency on a human. No one will have addictions who is attached to God, would they? It's impossible. So I was attached knowingly or not knowingly? Not knowingly, totally in blindness. I promised God how often I won't do it again. And here I did it again. What kept me going was my faith that whenever I confess my sin, He will forgive me. But I only thought He will forgive me when I don't do it again. And so I fell again and again. Why? No choice. But on the 7th June 2003, it was a Sabbath day, when I said yes to stay with my family, all my addictions disappeared. Never to come back, never even a battle against them. Never even a battle. Nothing. Why? Because I did not want to take from a human anymore. The first time I took from God. In the moment you take from God, your life is changing. How that happens, I don't know. But His power comes into our lives and we are different. And from that on, I started to take from God. I still mix sometimes from where I take, but I'm on a good way one day that my wife should be totally here, never appear here again. Because she has nothing to do here. I just have her for to give, not for to take. So, not steal. When you steal, where do you take? Stealing is clear. When you lie, why do you lie? To take or to give? When you covet, why do you covet? To take. So you see that 8 commandments just tell you when you do those things, you don't take from God. So you do not sin when you commit adultery. You sin because you don't take from God. Adultery is a consequence. It's not the cause. It's an effect. That's why we need to know there is one thing we need to fix in our life. And that is, in whom do we trust? In whom do we trust? We keep the thing out and just boom. So, now we are awake, yes? I lost my thought. However, 8 commandments are just there to open our eyes. That when we do those things, it's not in those things that we sin. It is because we do not take from God. I will prove that to you. There is only one sin. It cannot be more sins. And that one is where you take from. So, there is one law in the 4 commandments, in the first 4 commandments, that says where you take from. That's the only law where it says who you are. It says you are a creature. That's why you have a birthday. You see, a God has no birthday, you know that? But a creature has a birthday. So when you commemorate your birthday, you commemorate what? That you are a creature. That you're a creature. That's the only law that says where you have to take from. That's why God says He's water and bread. For what do you have water for and bread? To give or to take? To take. Can you ever give to God anything? Yes or no? What is worship? Taking or giving? Worship can only be taking. Because you can give nothing God back. I mean, what you give is that what comes out on another place. But you can never give to God anything because you need Him. That's why the Bible has no place where God is compared with something except dependency on Him. That's why He says, water and bread, drink and eat. He says, taste and see how good is God. So whenever you eat bread and taste it, for whom do you eat? It's a tricky question. You see, you learn to not answer. You see, there was a young lady. She was on a conference and she said, I went to the conference and I was so excited. And about 4 weeks after that, I had daily worship and study and pray to God. But after 1 month, it faded away. I said, I know why. You know why? Why did she pray? For whose sake did she pray? For herself. But do you eat the bread for you or to put into action? There is nothing that is for itself. So when we take from God, we go to Him not for us, but for us to be able to give. And I think because we don't know the law, we just go to God to give Him something that we might receive something from Him. That's why our prayer life has no power. Because we go for ourselves. But in the law shows us that nothing is there for itself. Christians are more selfish than others, you know that? They don't want only to live on earth well, they want also to live in heaven well. And they want to do that all for whom? For themselves. But heaven has no place for those kind of people. Because the law says you only go to God as a means to be able to give. Because giving is the purpose, not taking. But we made out of God a purpose. But God is a mean. We must fulfill a purpose by giving, not by going to Him. The greatest deception that Christians will live in these days will be that worship will become a purpose. And that's deception. We only go to God that we might be able to give. I only go to God because I have a job that He gave to me. And I have nothing to give. So do I need to go to God? Yes, I need to go to take, but for whom? For my patients. For the people around me. Because I don't need that. That's why we stop praying. For us, we don't need to eat bread. For us, we don't need that. But if we have a job to do, we need to eat bread, then we have to give it. So you see, if Christianity, if our faith does not change our motivation, how much is it worth? We just sink further in selfishness than we were before. Because everything turns around ourselves. That's why we need to know we only go to God in worship because we have a job to do. And I could fill hours to explain that there is nothing in heaven that does anything for itself. God does nothing for Himself. That's why nothing can do anything for itself. The love that we need just to give it. It's not for us. Because we will only be fulfilled when we give it. That's why the honor and father and mother is the law that shows to give. And this law is with a promise. Because you can never honor your father and your mother as long as you have him still on the taking side. You only can honor mother and father when you do not take from them anymore, when you are independent of them. Then you honor them. Then you can let them die. Then you don't need them. Then you can accept their will to stay in their home, even though they may, children take their parents and put them somewhere in safety. But the parents don't want to. Let them respect. If they die, they die. That's it. But they cannot do that because they must use force. And poor people die in a nursing home or somewhere, broken-hearted, because you took them from the place they were used, because you didn't respect them. Now, yes, if a person has no mind anymore, then it's a different situation. But as long as someone has a mind to think, leave him his will. That's why I say that's the most hardest thing. You cannot leave its will to mom and dad if you are dependent on them. That's why this law is the one law that promises health. Yes? Long life, and that it might be well with you. You see, when I first discovered in all the stories that it was the father and mother relationship that makes you sick, I said, how can that be written in... And then I saw the Ten Commandments, that the fifth commandment is the issue. Yes, because the fifth commandment is just a proof from where you take. And you can only fulfill this when you take from God. So that is a proof to see where you are. It's very simple, isn't it? And if you cannot honor your parents, then even if you get rid of the other dependency relationships, spouse or whatever, you still are not where you are. So honoring is giving or taking? It's giving. I tell you a little story of the rich young ruler. You know the story of the rich young ruler? He was a rich man. He kept the commandments or not? Yeah, he said, I have kept them from childhood. When the Lord asked him, he asked him which commandment should he keep. And he said, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? And then the Lord says, keep the commandments. And then he says, which one? And then which did the Lord give him? This one or this one? The giving one. Yes, he enumerated all the giving ones. And then he says, I fulfill them. Did he? No. So how can you test it? So Jesus, very smart, he says to him, look, one thing you miss. Go and give everything you have to the poor and come and follow me, and then you will have a rich in heaven, a treasure in heaven. Why was he not able to give? Why could he not give everything he has? Because should he not give it? Why could he not give it? Where did he have it? From where came his riches? From himself. You see, you can never give that what belongs to you except you get something back for it. But to give all is too much. So where did he break the commandment? Where did he break the commandment? In the taking or in the giving? only in the taking, because he thought he took it from himself. So you see, all deceptions, all problems, we can reduce to one thing. From where you take, from where you are attached, that's your destiny. And that will come out in your body. I always see in the body the mirror of the person you take from. And if we would take from God, we would have here mother, father, and animals. And all our relationship among us would be free relationships. Would you not like that? Yes or no? Imagine to just be in a relationship when each one is wanting to give more, because he understands the more he gives, the better it is. Imagine a competition in giving. Imagine how that would look. That's how it will be in heaven. There will be one source, but all will be there in order to give. So what is the fulfilling of the law by the human being? There is one thing. This is me, my spouse, and all others. I take in order to give. And how much liberty will I give my wife? Can I do that yet? No. Unfortunately not. Why not? Do I want something bad? Do I want something bad? No. I always want something good, but I want to enforce it on her. For whose sake? For my sake. It's a terrible thing. The more I see it, the more I don't hate me. I hate just this. I just hate this foreign body in me that determines me to exercise force, that makes me to make out of my wife a god and to take from her. All our problems come from taking, never from giving. Can you memorize that? You will have never a fight for the giving. There is never a competition. Oh, let me give you more, and no, I give you more, I give you more. There's no such thing. Everyone has its own problem just in the taking. So there is only one sign to be a child of God. You know what that sign is? It's the exercise of divine love. Since no one can do it by himself, he who does it is right. He who can love with divine love, giving 100% liberty and gives his life for the others, proves that he must be bound on God. This is the only one sign that proves who you are, because that's your identity card. And I think if the Christian would be that, would that be nice? Would all people flock to them? Yes or no? Yes. But when you flock to them, what do you find? What do you find? I am raised in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But what did I learn there? Yes. I learned competition. I learned judgmentality. I learned a lot of things. But love, I didn't see. But I want to change that, at least in my life. I want to show in my life that love is possible, that Christianity really works, that it's possible to be a man of love when you're connected to the right source, because you cannot produce love. What comes out of you is your identity. If love comes out, you're a child of God. If no love comes out, you're not a child of God. Is that simple? So, yes, there is a learning time. Since 15 years and a half, I learned to love. Am I finished yet? No. Do I have a goal? Yes. I don't want to let go until I can love perfectly. Until my patience is 100% with a non-smelling, good-smelling, whatever. Until whenever my wife does anything wrong, I'm still content, understanding. No nerves come out, no anger bursts, because I allow liberty. Because she has a right to do wrong, yes? Or maybe not a right, some people say she's allowed to do it. Yes, she does not need to not do it just for me. So this is our goal. In medicine, we will heal when we exercise love. Yes, we will not only heal in our bodies, that is included, but we will heal in all our relationships. So we have 2 hours more. I intercalated the child and the law in between, and now we're going to see in the next hours the human structure, the whole circle, and how the subconscious works in all details, and then come out to see how shall we change, how can we come to the point that we should not betray ourselves anymore, and at least come on the way, yes, to be people of love, to be people that grant liberty, understanding, and friendship. I think that's the nicest thing, isn't it? To just be friends. To just be friends. But for this, you must have something to give that does not make you dependent on the one that you give, but makes you independent of the one that makes you give. So, any questions for tonight? Or maybe I put you a question. Yes? Don't worry. Well, when you are weeping with compassion for the other one, yes, like Jesus, by example, wept, that was a weeping that was coming from not a loss of control, yes, because it was intentional, because he was expressing his sorrow that people were mourning for a dead person in front of the one that is the resurrection and the life. So she was not mourning for him. She was not losing control for him, but just for herself. And that's why you can make a difference. When you do it for the other, you allow liberty to the others. But if you do it for you, you cannot allow liberty, because that's dependency.
So do you have that liberty that you are allowing, so you do something for love, for your wife,
Yes.
and she doesn't receive it. You know, you in your heart you want to give that to her, and because you're independent of her, her reaction is not what you're looking for. You're looking for the opportunity to give. Is that right? And
No. When you give, you must know that you don't give from yourself. I'll give you an example. My wife likes flowers, but I was not used to bring flowers home. But after the 7th June 2003, when I go out in nature, the Lord reminds me that my wife loves flowers. You see, I was here in the gardens in Hamilton Gardens, and I saw nice roses, and I made some pictures and sent to her. But just at the beginning of my journey, I picked some flowers and I brought them home. But I made the mistake to say, the Lord reminded me to bring you some flowers. My wife almost took the flowers to throw them away because she said, I want the flowers from you. And then I said, you don't know what you say. Since when can I make flowers? You see how deceived we are? Can a man make flowers? No. So I kept bringing flowers now and then whenever God reminded me, but I didn't say God reminded me, so you just leave it out. And it took my wife a year and a half or more, I don't know how much it took, but it was a long time. Until one morning, it was spring, I brought her little violets, the blue flowers, I hope you have them in New Zealand. And I picked them, and I brought them there where we were doing meetings, and I showed it to her. And I gave it to her, and when she saw it, she says, how good is the Lord? I said, you got it. Yes, you see, you never give something from yourself. What they do with it, it's their business. Yes, so I answered in a, yeah? So it's so nice to not put anyone in a position that he should give you something back. And also when you get something, you see, I never took any gifts because I knew I have to give something back. So I didn't take gifts. But since I know that no one gives me anything from himself, I take everything. Because I know he doesn't give it to me from himself. I am not in a need to give him something back for it. But when he gives, he makes himself a joy. And I don't want to take him that joy by refusing the gift. So I take the gift, they thank you, and I forward it on. No, that's why I have it. But I have no debt to the giver because he never gave me anything from himself. Isn't that nice? That just frees us from all our problems. Love is the best thing, isn't it? We must understand that we have nothing, but we are channels where we can give a lot and a lot and a lot. So, if there are no questions, I wish you all a good, loving night. Let us exercise love and be aware it does not come from us. Have a good night.